murdered her children, then lied to the world.
I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't do anything but think about them.
For 9 days, the nation searched in vain.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children.
She slammed the door on him and let him roll. Deliberately, premeditatedly murdered Michael and Alex.
Union, South Carolina. They call it the City of Hospitality. A typical small town where neighbors know one another and life revolves around family and religion. Downtown, only 5 blocks long, is quiet on Sundays, except for the occasional passing train and the ringing of church bells. The nearby textile mills provide steady work for many Union residents. And 60 miles of highway and winding back roads isolate the town from the dangers of the nearest big city, Columbia. Around 3:30 p.m. on October 25, 1994, Susan Vaughn Smith left the Conzo Products Company, a fabric trim and tassel manufacturer, where she worked as a secretary. She was upset. Her boyfriend, Tom Findley, the son of the company owner, had recently ended their relationship. At the time, Susan was separated from her husband, David, and had been dating Findley for a few months. The late afternoon air was beginning to chill as the 23-year-old Smith arrived at the daycare center to pick up her 2 young children, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex. Unable to get thoughts of her boyfriend out of her head, she stopped at a tavern on her way home, where she sat in the parking lot, talking to a friend from work. She then returned to the office with her kids, hoping to patch things up with Tom. Her efforts failed. At around 6 p.m., Smith finally arrived at her small house on the northern edge of town. After making the boys a dinner of pizza, Susan called her friend at the tavern to see if Tom Findley was there, and if he had mentioned her name. He was, but he had not. Between 7:30 and 8 p.m., Smith strapped her 2 sons into their car seats in the back of her 1990 Mazda Protege. She would later say she thought a drive through the countryside might help clear her head. That she stopped at Walmart to do some shopping, and then got back into the car, intending to drive to a friend's house, but she never made it there. According to the story Smith would later tell, she was stopped at a traffic light behind the Monarch Mill textile plant, 2 miles from quiet Main Street, where a black man broke into her car with a gun in hand. "Drive or I'll kill you," Susan would later report the man as saying. Panicked, Smith said she did as she was told. They drove east on Highway 49, she said, away from downtown Union, the gun pressed against her ribs, the boys crying in the back seat. After about 10 minutes, they reached the access road to John D. Long Lake. Susan said the man abruptly told her to stop the car and get out, then stuck the gun to her side. Smith said she pleaded frantically for her children, but the black man pushed her out of the car and drove off with Michael and Alex. She ran to the nearest house, sobbing and crying for help. The family called 911.
Did he have any weapons, gun, anything?
He's got a gun.
Got a gun?
Yes, ma'am.
Within minutes, Union Sheriff Howard Wells was on the scene. He immediately notified the FBI and the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, known as SLED, a highly trained state police investigative unit. They dispatched agents to Union to assist the sheriff in the search for the alleged carjacker. Soon after, the boy's father, David Smith, rushed to Susan's side.
When I got there, she was hysterical. I had to literally pick her up off the floor and take her into the other room and sit down with her on the couch.
Later that night, David called his father.
I said, she ain't holding the bumper. I would have, you know, they wouldn't have drove off with my kids. You know, I was something when that car would have still been in my hand and he drove off, you know. But there was never any doubt, you know, in his mind that the kids were kidnapped.
I believed Susan. As I've stated before, 100%, completely. Never beyond that I didn't believe her beyond a shadow of a doubt, never.